Black Clover has delivered yet again. This chapter was fantastic. Now, there's some points in this chapter that I simply just found were a little bit confusing. Lots of loose ends to speculate on here with this one, so let's jump into it. I want to start off with the Dark Elves. I knew Dark Elves would be in the story at some point, but I presumed that the Dark Elves were just kind of what the Elves had become after the reincarnation, not necessarily what an actual Dark Elf is, but this version, in my opinion, is much better than that. So what happened with PATRI, or PATRI, whatever his actual name is, I'm not too sure, is that he's been taken over by despair. Hence why his grimoire has become a grimoire of despair. And this also caused him to turn into a dark elf, which is part of Norse mythology, just like light elves, which is what PATRI originally was. So that means we've been introduced yet again to another species, or maybe you could class this as a subspecies of sorts, I'm not too sure, but according to Norse mythology anyway, this is a brand new species for us. It's kind of like, and I don't want to make any comparisons because it's not similar, it's not that similar, but it's a good way to understand it is if kind of like you think of something like the Mangekyo Sharingan, or I'm sure there's other examples in other anime elsewhere, but it's something kind of like that where your body is essentially full of that much hatred, despair, all of this type of stuff that you've essentially lost all meaning of what it was to be human, or in this case, light elf, that type of thing, and it sent you to quite literally the depths of despair that is physically possible for whatever species you are. You know, I keep wanting to say human, but he's not technically a human, and that's what's caused PATRI to transform into this heartless dark elf. One thing which I think would be quite interesting, and I think this could be something that may be setting up for something that could happen way down the line. I don't expect it to potentially happen anytime soon, but we know that Yuno has some form of elf heritage within him. So what if he has the ability to go dark elf form? What if at one point in the series he's going to experience that much hatred and despair that he will go dark elf mode of some sort? So maybe this will set up an Asta versus Yuno fight, and maybe that's going to be how we kind of decide who's going to be the rightful Wizard King at some point down the line in the story. Anyway, enough about Dark Elves. On to the demon. The demon, or the devil, made his first move this arc as well, by fleeing, running away, or flying away in his case, leaving us with a message simply saying that he needs his body, or a certain somebody's body. Now, I don't know who this is, but I have a very high feeling that it is the real Licht. Licht has been kind of missing in action lately in the story, and I think this would be a perfect chance to bring him back into it. It could also be the reasoning for allowing his memories to return, because we know that the real Licht right now, his memory is very hazy. He only remembers very few things. And if he saw the face of this demon again, which obviously him and the first Wizard King presumably fought all those years ago, then maybe this could be a trigger to bring back all of his memories. The reason I don't think he's after Yuno or even Asta's body like a lot of people do is purely because, well, he's been flying away from them, so why would he be leaving them otherwise if they're who he's after? I also predict that maybe next chapter or in a few chapters time, whenever we come back to this place in case we swap off to some other fight, I think that Raya will now inform the other elves and all of that and about the truth. Maybe not all of the elves, but at least explain in detail to Asta and Yuno, and this especially could be about Yuno's reincarnated elf heritage and his connection to Licht. One question I do have is about what's going to happen with PATRI's grimoire, because obviously it's been nailed into our brains at this point in the story that in the fifth leaf resides the demon, just like Asta's. So, does this mean that PATRI will also have a demon now? Because that's kind of the expected part. Now, whether or not in the fifth leaf resides the demon is just metaphorical and just a figure of speech, or genuinely in the fifth leaf lives a demon, we're not too sure. I suppose we're going to find out, but Is this possibly how demons are born? Does PATRI now have a grimoire, a demon in his grimoire? There's so many questions, and I just really, really hope we start to find out a little bit more. Talking about so many other questions, here's just a few of them that I've got so far. So, why doesn't the demon seem to care at all about Asta's grimoire that much? Why hasn't Asta's demon said or reacted anything at all? These type of things I want to see so badly. This is kind of things I was expecting when a demon came into the picture, a real genuine demon. I was expecting that this is going to be huge for Asta because we're going to finally see Asta's demon again, which it feels like we've not seen him in absolutely ages. We saw him right at the beginning of the story, just briefly in a shadow, and then obviously we saw him in the Witch's Forest arc. And then, if I'm not mistaken, we've never seen him since. So I'd like to see what his thoughts on all of this are. And like I said at the beginning of this video, there's so many questions which, no matter how hard I try this time, I've read this chapter a good few times and I just can't think of a plausible answer for it right now. So I do apologise that I may not have explained a great deal about this chapter, but it's clearly setting up a lot of things in this chapter. We're setting up things to be explained later on down the line, which is a very good thing. It's what Tabata's kind of adopted as his speciality, and one of my favourite things about Black Clover, how you don't get answers straight away. You have to wait, and it makes it very, very that much more rewarding when you do get the answers. But one thing I want to end this review on is Yami and Nozel hype. Now, they're not actually together right now. They're in separate rooms, it seems, but considering it focused solely on those two when this huge magic power from PATRI, which, like I said, I've got no idea what is going to be happening with that, but it's going to be huge, that's for sure. Now, Yami and Nozel, I presume, are going to get together, but right now, they're not together. They're in different rooms. Yami seems to be in a completely different location. He seems to be off to the side, and Nozel is in his own little chamber, whatever. But I'm expecting now that they're going to team up, and they're going to be the ones, I think, to fight this dark elf Licht, while Yuno and Asta go after the demon. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already to become a member of the Empire Squad. And I'll be seeing you guys in another video. But until then, peace.